no, but
all right. So fill us in some of Dolores's information.
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of things. So I know that she first started out, kind of doing this from the aspect and angle of like a hypnotherapy. That was her main, kind of start, if you will, with all this. From there, as she began working, with different clients, patients, whatever, people, whatever you want to call them, she began to kind of realize, okay, there is a big connection when I am walking somebody back into their subconscious mind, and their past life experiences. She started to see that, oh my goodness, like
out, yeah.
These past lives are coming to the surface, and these individuals are unconsciously, not consciously, unconsciously talking about these past life situations, etc. And she began to kind of find this connection between those. And that was a lot of her purpose, behind this work. And as she began to get deeper and deeper into what she calls the subconscious mind. And she talks about this. It's not so much like a clinical subconscious mind, because that's been labeled something very specifically by the scientific community,
therapists,
therapists, counselors, all that type of stuff. She describes the subconscious mind, she describes what she labels as a subconscious mind is much larger than how we look at it in a clinical sense.
Yeah, clinical sense, they put it like the habitual mind.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly.
So and she just used subconscious. You can very well use higher conscious.
Yeah,
so
and she talks about that.
Yeah.
She says that, when I'm talking about the subconscious, I'm talking about that higher consciousness. I'm talking about your God
not the
consciousness.
habitual mind, but the mind that's connected to the universal source.
Yep.
Yeah.
And she explains that, like, one of her gifts and her talents is, let's say you have 1 out of 20 people coming in, and out of those 20 people, one should be able to turn off the conscious thinking mind after undergoing hypnosis and having a breakthrough, etc. Well, with her techniques and what she's, created or been accustomed to, she has been able to kind of flip the script on that number, and she proudly states, 1 out of 20 would not be able to turn off the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, meaning she's able to get through to 19 of her different, people she's working with, ultimately saying, hey, I know how to help you, get into that unconscious state where you can lose the thinking mind. Because the thing about hypnosis is it's participatory. And hypnotherapists know this, definitely like stage hypnotherapists know this, people
have you
out there.
Ever done it?
I've never done it.
Oh, all right.
Have you?
Yeah, a couple of times, yeah.
Wait, like in public, like where somebody brought you on a stage and performed hypnotherapy?
No, I went to a hypnotherapist. I went to several of them.
Dude, tell me about it.
So I remember the first time I went to a hypnotherapist, and it was suggestion. It was kind of like to overcome ways of thinking,
Okay.
Like getting over like the wordiness type of stuff. I didn't really have any habits as far as like smoking, drinking, eating, nothing like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just curious because somebody told me about it, so I went in and did it, and it was cool. I went into a slight trance, but I was fully well aware. I was also an ability to push back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember doing that, but it felt comfortable and stuff. So I remember doing that, and I did a couple of times, but it was one time I had this, a friend of mine, she was getting into past life regressions, and she told me about hypnotherapy and stuff like that, and I knew about Dolores Cannon, so I mentioned it. He goes, oh yeah, that's the woman I'm studying pretty much, and I don't know if she studied directly with her.
Mm-hmm.
I know Dolores died in 2014, so I knew this client before that, but so I knew about Dolores when she was still alive, but close to the end of her life.
Mm-hmm.
So I went and I did a session with her, and it was wild because I was like in there. She walked me through it. Next thing you know, I don't remember anything other than when I came out of it. And what she did is she recorded everything, and I could hear my voice back when she asked me questions about my past lives. And
see, that is cool.
Yeah, and it was. And I just, there were 2 past lives that were connected that she brought me into. And again, this woman, my friend, she was just starting out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was curious to go to her now. It's just been many years, so
mm-hmm.
I know she lives in.
We should have her on the show.
Yeah, she lives in. I believe she's in Utah right now.
We'll have to.
Yeah.
Have her Zoom in with us or something.
We could
some sort of
Zoom her in. So
some sort of way to interview her.
Yeah. So anyway, so I did that, and it was pretty wild because after I listened to the recording, it was interesting to see the past lives that I came into, and I think I told the story before. The past life. One, I was a Native American, and it was weird when I'm walking. I remember walking through the village. And I could look down. I could see my feet, my hands, whatever. You can't see. I could just see others. So I'm looking out of the eyes of this human being. And then the other one, I was kind of a horseman, like the Genghis Khan period. But I was just, I don't know where I stood in the tribe, if you will, because everybody's bland. It was just a moment in time, and I visually remember it now as we bring it up, but. I don't know, and I think it's because I don't know if I was a warrior in both or what have you. It's very difficult to tell, but I think that's kind of the theme of my life, like letting go of that aspect of it, but utilizing it for good, if you will. Again, this is a story I tell myself, so
absolutely
it sounds good.
No, but that's what we're living. All we're living, every single one of us, is just a series of stories that we've held on to in our heads. That's all this whole experience is. And
at this point in my life, I'm trying to still, connect and play in the world, but consciously, how do I do it at a greater level? And what I mean, what's my reference? My reference is to take care of me and everyone around me simultaneously. I don't care who they are. And there is a way to do that. There's a niche. There's a place to do that. You can literally take care of yourself and others simultaneously. A lot of times when you get out of whack, you either have to take care of yourself or you take care of the others and you suffer. And that seems to be a game, but when you're out of balance and you don't see this thing, it seems like, well, I got to take care of myself. I can't be bothered with you. And when you're in that place, that's a safe place to be. And then sometimes you just have to take care of others and put yourself aside. But there is a way to get to this, like build a bridge so you get this place where you're simultaneously taking care of yourself and others at the same time. And that's where the golden rule comes, do unto others, right? And when you learn that and you can get into that sweet spot, if you could stay there, life is just amazing. There's always and forever be challenges. But the challenges then wake you up, even, amp up the volume for you to be more alert. That's what they do. That's what a challenge for. It's not to collapse you, but you can choose to collapse. And as I went through this past life regression, even though I'm like, okay, it was cool, it was cool. But all of a sudden, as the years went on, I refer back to that, and it does something to the development of me looking, okay, probably shouldn't act that way. It's not going to work. I know it's not going to work. So why do it? Like, why get upset? If I get upset, it's not going to work. So all these culminations of everything from the past life regression to all these things I read about and living it, they're starting to manifest now in my behavior to circumstance situation. So people like something good happens. People are like, oh my God, you manifested. I'm like, yeah. I
also manifested the shit that happened to me last week.
Yeah, exactly.
That's exactly how that's the truth. That's so the truth.
Yeah. So it's no longer about what I manifest, because that's interesting. It's cool. It's how I respond to it. So if I manifest a lot of money, when I do that, I don't get overly excited about it. I don't like, when's the shoe going to drop either. I don't do that. I don't play that role anymore.
Yeah.
But when something helps in the other direction, I stay in that same place. I'm in this place. Yes, I'm excited, but not like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then when shit goes south, I'm like, oh God, damn, like that.
Yeah.
So
the world's out to get me.
Yeah. So as I leveled up to a higher place of a higher understanding, and the way I got there is to realize I know very little, and I still know very little. So I have an excuse.
And I'm just okay with that.
And I have an excuse.
Yeah.
But not to use it as an excuse, because when I understand I know very little, the peak of curiosity, or curiosity peaks within me, and then I get excited about stuff. So there is no end to this experience. You can talk about that. You can talk about annihilation, end of experiences, but they don't really exist. Yes, this corporeal body will eventually wither away and end up being carbon back into the soil. But there's something in me, like like Dolores talks about, the subconscious or the higher conscious mind continues on, steps out of the physical body. There is no way I can prove this other than the way I get people to understand it, if you know anything about biology, depending on what biologists you talk to, at least there seems to be across the board that every 7 years you have a completely new physical body. You know, different parts of your body will change, like the lining of your stomach every month, and so on and so forth. But down to the brain matter and the structure of your bone, every 7 years, a completely new body. So if that's the case, there was something in that body that's now in this body, but that body no longer exists. So the body of me 7 years ago is no longer here, and I realize that. If I look at my yearbook picture from high school, I'm like, damn, what happened? Yeah. Actually, I had a mullet back then, so
hell yeah, Frank.
So what was I thinking?
That's awesome.
But when I look at that, I'm like, that body no longer exists, but there's something in me that witnessed that time in my life and has witnessed this time in life. Well, that will never die. But the personality, the persona definitely did. Mm-hmm. So there's awareness that something did die, but there's something else that didn't. And that's all I can explain, where I can wrap my mind around it, where the idea of transitioning doesn't scare me, nor do I sit around thinking about it all day. It's not what I do. Mm-hmm. Like, if I'm watching a movie, I don't think about the end. I just watch the moment in which I'm in. I know the movie's going to end, but I sit and watch it, and I've learned to be more present. I'm not always present. Karen will account for that, but yeah, she's my child. No, I was kidding. I love Karen.
That
actually, Karen helps me a lot. Like, yeah, if it wasn't Karen, I'd be a miserable bastard.
Hey, but that's the reason you attract what you attract. Is to keep in that moment. This forever present moment that we call now.
Yeah. So, and that's it. So the experience I had with hypnotherapy, like, one was to like overcome some negative thing, a way of thinking, and I believe it helped. I remember one time the woman says, every time you see red, and I remember hearing her say this, you're gonna think prosperous and happy thoughts. Well, red. The reason she picked red is the most visible color to human eye. It's the lowest frequency density, so that's why they use red as stop signs and stoplights. Everyone will see it. Mm-hmm. But if they use some other color, you're like, oh, that's a pretty violet, and you should right to this intersection. It's not good.
Right.
Yeah. But, so that was my experience with that.
The hypnotherapy aspect that I like about what Dolores explains is she explains how that we try to rationalize everything with the thinking mind. So we'll go into these hypnotherapy type of sessions, or when we allow ourselves to kind of drift back into our unconscious mind, into our unconscious mind, out of the conscious mind, we try to kind of say, like, we try to be quote unquote logical and be like, oh, that could have been this, or maybe I heard that somewhere, maybe I saw that somewhere, etc. And this is where we get stuck, is we're trying to left brain analyze what can't be analyzed. Try to left brain explain these past lives experiences, or these huge amounts of knowledge and knowing that have been passed on through millennia, through consciousness, if you will. And so she talks about that, and she explains that when we can clear our conscious thinking and the analyzing out of the mind, that's when we have these different breakthroughs, and we're allowing ourselves to hemisync, if you will, use all the brain, not just the left side analytical portion, but also the creative, artistic, whole other realm that we have to this experience that we call reality. We're living in a very, very limited reality when it's purely analytical. And that's why we're so exhausted. That's why we're so tired. That's why we experience burnout. There is multitudes of levels within this experience, and we're just staying put on one, saying, no, this is real. If I can't spit on it, smell it, or touch it, it's not real.
Yeah.
And that's so far from the truth. In fact, there's this whole other world out there that we're not tapping into because we're just saying it's not real.
Yeah, and also too, the reason there is a theme of limitation, as I see it, limitation allows us to experience the infinite. And what I mean is, like I've mentioned this before in this podcast, that there's 12 notes in music, but yet we'll never run out of music. But can you imagine there was an infinite amount of notes? Again, it's a very difficult thing to conceive because it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. But just imagine there was. Where would you start the song? Like, what note do you choose? But having a infinite amount of songs, actually most rock songs are based off of 4 notes anyway, but
That's
we'll
for
never
sure.
write a rock. So having a finite amount of resources will create an infinite amount of pleasures or experiences. In other words, there is a finite amount of fruits and vegetables on the planet. I mean, when I talk about finite, I'm talking about the types. So you got tomato, but you got just say a tomato.
Roma, heirloom.
Yeah, whatever it is. But you'll never run out of tomatoes because the earth will keep reproducing them. So it's an infinite amount of potatoes, but there's only a certain kind of them. So there's a finite amount of potatoes, but there's infinite amount of potatoes throughout life's history and time. So we start understanding the concept of finite and infinite, how they work together. They aren't to be separated. It's this and that. We realize, why is our life, everyone wants to be infinite. I'm like, we are. But you wouldn't know it if there wasn't a finite understanding of the game here. And Dolores talks about how Earth is one of the most ruthless places to live. It's very treacherous and hard. Yeah,
and that's true.
Yeah, it is.
She says it best.
Yeah, and again, I don't have a memory of not being an experience on the planet, but there's something in me that says, yeah, this is hard, right? like you wake up in the morning, your body's like, damn, this is heavy. Like, why can't I be lighter? It's why we probably always want to lose weight. We want to float, right? Mm-hmm. To some extent, or get stronger so we can bear the weight. So there's something about that, wanting to be stronger or lighter so we can walk around. So we realize, I remember Alan Watts says that someone's like, yeah, life's a drag. You say, damn right, you're dragging it through your whole body. Your body is dragging your life.
Damn right.
You're dragging your body through life, and it is a drag. But that's why we came here, So we came around to hold up this bag of bones. And
That's exactly it. What Dolores always says that I love is she's like, Earth is a school, and we are all here. And there is no skipping grades.
Yeah, I keep getting left back.
There is no skipping grades. You got to do the curriculum. And what she's talking about when she says Earth is a school, she's talking about our karma. We all chose to come here and experience life. We chose to come out and play these different roles so we can learn more about ourselves and remember who and what we are, which is the infinite. We're here to remember our immense amount of power. That's this experience. And so